All right, thanks for joining us today at the Business After Windows live Q&A sessions.
Thank you.
Just remember, during these sessions, you can submit your questions on Twitter by tweeting at BizAfterWindows with the hashtag #NewCloud. Up next, we'll be talking to Manash Chaudhuri, who spoke on the new applications. Manash Chaudhuri is the CEO and co-founder of Converge Enterprise, Inc., a leading cloud CRM company. Manash is widely recognized for his visionary leadership and has over 19 years of experience in operations, sales, and project management. Manash, do you want to give us a little recap on your presentation before we start with the Q&A?
Sure. Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning to everyone. It's been an interesting topic that I was able to share my thoughts on. New application is one of the growing field, as we all can relate to, not only in terms of the creativity, innovation. In the effort to bring out some of my thoughts, I presented this presentation, which not only talks about the magnitude of different applications that are coming in the horizon. At the same time, the invasion of something like Internet of Things, social media, or the new age of CRM in terms of integrated solution stacks is what is to some extent has been shared in my presentation. I would love to share more of my thoughts while we are going through our Q&A session. And again, I thank you for listening to my presentation, and I'm all for you right now.
Wonderful. All right, so why don't we go ahead? We can start with the first question. This came earlier to us, and it says, can you elaborate on how modern CRM systems will integrate with social marketing and social listening platforms?
That's a very great question, because more and more we hear nowadays about big data and how we are talking about predictive analytics as well as behavior modification science. When you talk about the CRM in the silos we talked about in the 2 decades back or a decade back, it was more related towards the lead management part, as well as we talked a little bit about the marketing automation. But nowadays, when you talk about the CRM, it has the leverage of the sales management, which talks about the lead management, marketing automation.
Are you still there, Manash? I think we may have lost you for a few minutes.
Model in terms of your revenue. Jennifer, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, Manash. It looks like you went blank for a little bit. Do you want to go ahead and start over?
Sure. Let me discuss something about, again, we're talking about the magnitude of CRM and then how the social and marketing and social listening platforms will help. In my opinion, since we have been dealing with the CRM world for the last 19 years, and what we've seen is things evolved in CRM, starting from the lead management, getting the marketing automation, or the customer service, and then the collaboration. At every aspect, there's a big layer that is always connecting everyone, is the messaging layer. And 2 years back or 3 years back, while big data was in its infancy, people were not able to relate the messaging layer properly, and because of that, the predictable models were not very effectively designed. Nowadays, just because as we are getting more and more adaptable big data models, we are able to go into Twitter feeds or Facebook feeds. We can even tap in some kind of buying signals by hashtags. At the same time, get some kind of more customer behavioral information from a lot of these social inputs. Now, as we evolve the CRM stack, it is very critical that we are able to listen to all those platforms and then create some kind of models which will help not only to create a very more defined and a refined marketing strategy, but also would help us developing a very nice tools for making much more viable marketing approach. Today, when you talk about the marketing campaigns, we only specifically deal with the perhaps to some extent the social part. Then we are talking about the email marketing. However, when you start having this kind of more adaptable model with social listening platforms or social media, it will evolve this whole science around the marketing automation in a much bigger way, where we are able to reach out to the customers in order to help them with their product warranties, or perhaps it can help them in terms of future product issues. It can also leverage them in terms of very dignified customer service. So those kind of things, which will all help in order to service the customer better, is where I would believe the social as well as the listening platforms will tremendously help.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. I think that gave our listeners a lot of information to go off with. Let's move on to the second question.
Sure.
So this is in regards to, you talk about instant notifications in your presentation about the new applications. Do you anticipate any kind of negative reactions or backlash against those instant notifications? You know, we have them pop up on our phones all the time.
Sure.
You know, what do you see going on there?
I think there's always a good and a bad to everything, and in terms of the more we are getting connected through the social platforms as well as the CRM and many other application stacks, we are able to come close to each other in terms of their needs, their behavior, their idiosyncrasies to some extent. However, one thing that is very critical in every business line is we need to know our boundaries. And social platform is one of those sites which, if not moderated properly, can make or break a company anytime. So I would say yes to a lot of the social listening platforms. However, we need to build a very structured moderation stack as well, which will always filter certain kind of messages before it delivered to the public. It can be a very simple, easy backlash from any competitor's side saying that this product is not good, or perhaps their service sucks. So those kind of messaging, which can be spoken in a very loosely manner, can ricochet through the social platform and can create a very big havoc for the industry. So my take would be, although we are trying to connect and create a very beautiful syndicated open platforms architecture, it is very, very critical for everybody to put some thoughts into our security as well as toward moderation of any of the messaging or the listening things that they are putting their ears and eyes to.
Absolutely, and it's so important. Sometimes we've seen so many companies get bit by negative reactions on social media, so that is something I know a lot of people have to focus on. So our next question asks that, you know, can you point to possible future technology innovations that might dramatically revolutionize the ERP and CRM space? So what have you seen, and what do you kind of see coming for us?
Very good question, and very close to what we have been doing. And this is where I think the creativity and innovation plays a very beautiful role in conjunction with the technology. While we're talking about the new innovative science, the one thing that is going to be the big game changer in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be the Internet of Things. We typically are looking at Internet of Things today from more of the hobby level kind of a thing, where it's good to have this kind of things or that. However, once this whole sensory architecture or the device architecture, which are able to communicate with the application stack, is more refined, we will start seeing a lot of homogeneity in terms of how your messaging is flowing from your input devices or from your sensor devices into your application stack. So having said that, what is going to evolve in the next 5 to 10 years, what I'm very bullish about, and where we have already started working on a lot of innovative ideas of putting our CRM in play. And one such example I would like to share is, believe it or not, we are putting our CRM in play for farming industry. So what is happening is that in the farming industry, they are not sure like when what crops are getting produced at what stage. Through our Internet IoT devices, we are getting inputs in terms of the productivity of certain crop type. At the same time, we are also getting certain inputs from the IoTs, from the customer requirements in terms of what is the need, what is the seasonal requirement. And based on that, we are sending signals from the CRM into the ERP kind of systems to start cultivating and building that kind of inventory in their portfolio. And it's just one of such examples, and it could be in any other industry. It could be in the beverage industry, it could be in the shoe industry or clothing industry, because typically today when you talk about the what do you call the osmotic behavior between an IoT or a social or any other platform, we are taking it as an independent source because still it is in infancy, all these technologies. But given the time frame as it evolves in the next 2 to 3 years is where we are seeing a lot of those things are mixing together, and that's where and I think the best thing that has happened in the last 4 or 5 years of technology space is the concept of service operated architecture, SOA architecture, through which we are able to adapt in, or we are able to hook into any other information source and can take decisions based on the events and the actions that are driven from that device. So I'm very bullish, and I think IoT would be the next wave of things that would evolve a lot of existing applications into the next horizon.
Wonderful. Yeah, we've already seen the Internet of Things spring up sort of in the consumer space. So seeing that come into the business, like you gave the examples, it's very fascinating.
Sure.
Which actually leads into our next question. In your opinion, what is the most exciting part of technology? Is it that Internet of Things that's coming up, mobile, or is it the social sharing that's going on in the B2B spaces?
I would say it's very interesting to see the whole, I would say, the fanciness or the sexiness of being delivering a B2B product has changed dramatically in the last 2 years. We always had this fascination of a nice, neat-looking application, which is always used to be a consumer product or B2C product. Now we are able to see that this whole concept of even a B2B product looks nice, looks neat, looks very user-friendly. And I think that's where I think it is going to be a very big game changer for the industry as well. Most of the time when we are on the field, we are spending almost 65% of our time on our smartphones. Now, if our applications, the B2B applications, are quite sensitive enough to be played on any of those devices properly and give you the right inputs and output parameters, now your productivity of any kind of individual would expand dramatically. And that's where I think I would say, even though we're talking about social or IoT or any other application, in my opinion, again, in my humble opinion, I would say is this whole boundaries would all seize out very quickly, and we will start seeing one homogeneous product which will have a flavor of everything in it, and it will be very difficult to differentiate between whether the input is coming from your emails or whether the input is coming from your social feed or any kind of IoT device. That's where I think I'm very bullish about the concept how we are going to evolve into it, and we have already started working on many of those ideas. And I would say, since I'm a technocrat more than a marketing person, I would be favoring a lot of those technology things that is going to come in the market. And the most important thing that is going to help everybody is how it is going to help the consumer or the customer to enrich their productivity, to enrich their business, and to get a more simplified solution to their architecture.
Absolutely. That is the goal for so many of us, is to enhance that customer experience, like you said.
Yes.
So actually, why don't we move on to another question? What do you think is the next big challenge for building customer relationships through social media? I know it's a big thing right now.
Yes.
What do you suggest there?
I would say, yes, social is good to a lot of things in terms of checking out your product release in the market, as well as to seeing how you are performing in terms of your customer service. But there should always be some kind of a boundary where we have to define what is really important and what is not, which is good to have kind of a thing. In my case study, what we have been doing with a lot of our integration of our converged enterprise application with social markets is we have seen a tremendous value proposition when we are doing some kind of a marketing automation program or reach out program or a campaign where we are able to instantly get customers' input through the social feeds, and we are able to take some actions to do instant gratification to them by sending them some kind of a follow-up emails or a campaign. Similarly, can be touched for the service industry as well, where we talk about a customer is a happy customer or a not a happy customer by tagging in some kind of a, by looking into the social behavior. At the same time, what we can also now look into the case studies where we can avoid any kind of moderation to some extent, where we usually have some kind of filters where none of the internal resources of the employees of the company should not be exposed too much to the social feeds outside, or expose a lot of their customer information, the company information outside using the social feeds. This is where I think the cons happen, because sometimes we tend to forget about the boundaries, since all the good things are happening through the behavioral modification and through the customer inputs. The reverse can also take place, where your internal resources or internal staff can start sharing some of the information and spitting it out into the whole cloud environment, where the whole information can replicate into many folds and can destroy the company. So I would say, in terms of tapping into the customer behavior or customer satisfaction or customer gratification points, it is very critical to be looking out and reaching out to the social feeds. But from the other point of view, to have some controls and taps from your internal resources, not to be able to very easily, without moderation, submit anything to the social feeds from the company point of view.
Very interesting. Thank you. So what is your opinion on the changes Google Glass is bringing to some of the applications you mentioned? I know it's kind of a hot topic. Have you been able to test that out?
I don't know, man. It can be a concept, because again, I like the concept of Google Glass, but somehow I feel the privacy is somehow compromised to some extent. IoT is Google Glass is again an IoT kind of a device through which you can capture some inputs from the Google Glass and then transmit into your application and then get some feedback on results and from productivity information. However, at this stage, I think it's a little bit premature even for us to conceptualize. It's a good product to have, because once you're in the field, you're traveling, you're in the excursion or on a vacation mode, you're through the glass, you're able to look into, let's say, Chichen Itza, and then get the history of Chichen Itza, how it happened, and everything is happening through that kind of media. However, when you talk about, I shudder the fact that I'm sitting in front of my customer with my Google Glass, and as I'm talking to the customer one-on-one, I'm able to see his social feeds, I'm able to see his behavior pattern, I see where he has checked in the hotel last time, or what kind of food and drinks he is having. So that's a scary thought. So, but again, things will change. We cannot say never to anything, but I'm sure with some kind of moderation, some kind of business ethics, we will be able to streamline a lot of those informations that is coming in picture. And with the devices like Google Glass, it can be a very innovative solution, not only from the customer satisfaction point of view, but from also, it can be a very innovative solution for something to do with like how-to videos, or when you're stuck in some traffic and need to get repair on your car with the AAA is probably an hour away from helping you. So anything which will help you to let you do certain things, I think that's where Google Glass will be an instrumental thing. However, as I was sharing, I feel very uncomfortable sitting in front of my customer or my colleague with a Google Glass and getting to know more than what they know about themselves.
Yeah, the applications were definitely very interesting, and we'll see, I guess, how it develops.
Sure.
But thank you for that answer. Why don't we go ahead and we'll move on to another one. What do you think is the next step for some of these applications after integration, or becoming interconnected in that Internet of Things? Do you think there's anything beyond that?
The big thing that is playing a big role in Internet of Things is the predictable model. Today we are, I would say, we're doing very surface level predictable modeling in terms of forecast, or in terms of productivity enhancements, or in terms of customer satisfaction. As more and more Internet of Things get into play, or more and more these devices are able to throw out right inputs or right parameters to the big data cloud, there will be a lot of revolutionary applications that will be coming in place, which will help us build very nice critical dashboards, or more analytical dashboards, which will help us to create a more rightful approach for predictable forecast or predictable science. I see that's the next horizon for any of those integration applications to take place, because as and when more of this integration applications are getting creating this harmonious mix, we are going and shine towards the model of looking into the data, understanding the data, interpreting the data, and making decisions based on the data. And I think that's, I would say, right now it's in infancy. I would say as more and more companies are maturing in that thoughts, we are going to see a lot of changes, a lot of innovative ideas to play in the next 2 to 3 years, which deals about the analytical model or the predictable model.
Very interesting. Thank you again. All right, and I think we've got time for one more question. So,
Sure.
you know, this one basically goes back to when you were talking to the Internet and things, and you were giving a couple of examples how it would work in a business application.
Yes.
We are seeing the Internet of Things being very consumer focused. You know, we have the Nest thermometer, which you can set from your phone, you know, a couple of connected home items. But do you see any of these examples coming to the business world? You know, something like a smart coffee pot, anything like that? You know, what do you see coming?
Absolutely. I think whenever we are able to come up with any kind of new innovative product, historically what we have seen that it is always tried with the consumer first to see how is the reaction, how is the adaptability, and how well it connects to their daily life. And as we are seeing, that whole concept is making a play. This IoT things, as I was sharing sometimes a few minutes back, of how it can be implemented in the business, we are implementing that with the farming sector, where the fertilization, the crop development is now controlled through Internet of Things. It can be used in the oil exploration as well, of how, when, and how to dig and what time to dig the oil for certain productivity. We can also look into there are a lot of flavors of where the business will be benefiting from these devices. A good example could be your product warranties, because you may be using 10 different products or 10 different solutions in your application stack or in your manufacturing house. And just to know that what may go bad at what time, rather than waiting for the product to go bad, we can get some sensory report saying that, okay, this product or needs some kind of updates, or maybe your automobile, your car, through the telematics, it needs the next service, or probably the next 2 miles or 3 miles limitation only, or perhaps you need to change your or fill in your gas to do something next. So anything which will help us take decisions is where the Internet of Things will play an important role. I still will feel that it is maybe 2 years down the road, while people are able to more openly accept the Internet of Things. It is going through a lot of changes. It is going through a lot of standardization. Very few standards are still applicable for Internet of Things. Since we have seen when you work with a different variety of data sources, unless and until there's a universal standard, it is very difficult to plug and play any of those devices in the future. And that's where I think a lot of the commotion is there in the market, where the businesses are trying to define this architecture, the standards, as a business layer, which will help us do a plug and play of any kind of device or any kind of sensors to send out transmit inputs to the businesses. But again, to reframe your question in terms of how it is going to be used in the business, I would feel it is going to be very, very critical for business in terms of their service warranty, service products, in terms of their what you call the production line, or the ERP line, or the manufacturing line, or the supply chain, and logistic. Logistic is a big thing, because when we talk about the shipping, those kind of things are very much rudimentary today. We are typically using GPS tracking, but besides GPS tracking, while using the Internet of Things, we can also tap in the right temperature into those food storage trucks that or the 18-wheelers that goes, or perhaps we can check out before the 18-wheelers hits the next rest area. It is equipped with so many things. So those kind of things will certainly play a lot of decision modeling applications, which are going to be coming based on Internet of Things. And I'm very excited about to see the opportunities that is in the next 2 years in terms of the IoT, the CRMs, the social. And I believe as more and more maturity happens in the industry, it is going to be a beautiful world to stay with, kind of business, with the neat business tools that comes into play.
Absolutely, and I can definitely think of a couple products I would like to get warning on before, you know, they broke or something.
Absolutely.
But I think that's all the time we have for this session.
Sure.
Did you want to go ahead and say anything to our audience?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to present in this conference, and I really thank everybody and every participant who was cordial enough to basically listen to the presentation and then give some thoughts. And my thoughts would be, since this whole technology space is evolving, uh, it is exciting to partner up with companies who are on the same mindset at the same time, who are looking to make the change in the industry. And today, it doesn't matter whether your company is big or small, since we have so much of potential of utilizing the cloud technologies. Even being a small entrepreneur, you can think big, and with those innovative ideas, you can create, really, truly create a changing world and a better world for the business. Thank you for everyone.
Very well said. Thank you again, Manash, for joining us today, and thank you again for joining us. To catch the next session, return to Business After Windows and click View Live QA. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
No problem, Manash. Thank you.